set up.
Good evening. This is the Thursday, August 28th, Policy and Human Resources Committee meeting at 4 p.m. Mrs. Shope, could I get a call to order, please? I mean, a roll call, please. Oh, call.
Yes. Juan Romero.
Here.
Tom Hankins.
Here by phone.
And Brian Nichols.
Here.
All members are present.
Okay, could I get an approval of the agenda, please?
Hello.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Agenda approved. Next item is the meeting minutes from August the 18th. Could I get an approval of those minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried. Mrs. Shope, do we have any public comment? There's no one in the room, but none. Okay, thank you. Okay, the first next agenda item is policies for review. This is policy 345.1, Rule 1, class rank. This was moved forward from the TLE Pupil Services Committee meeting of last week, I believe. And so I will open that for discussion.
Brian, is there anyone there from admin to discuss this?
Yes, and in attendance we have Mrs. Elwood, Mrs. Amador, sorry, drew a blank, Mrs. Bortek, Dr. Garrison, and Board President Johnson, and of course Mrs. Shope.
Okay. I would just like a brief overview from Mrs. Mortek, please.
Sure. Good afternoon. We brought this to the TLE committee on August 19th for feedback and have worked with various stakeholder groups to revise the policy in order to put it into implementation for this school year. And after we created the specific graduation requirements policy, we wanted to then continue with some of these other policies that are related. So some of the changes in this is more clearly defining how the classes will be weighted for advanced classes. In addition, we wanted to look at how we could encourage students to take courses the first time face-to-face versus kind of falling back to credit recovery. So there are some changes in the policy that are addressing that. We recognize that credit recovery holds a purpose, and we need credit recovery in our district, but we don't want this over-reliance of, I didn't pass it the first time, so I'll take it in credit recovery. And so we wanted to work on that and the way in which grade point average and the way in which things appear on student transcripts.
Hey.
Is there any other questions or discussions?
How did TLE committee came out of there with, what was the vote on it to accept this? Sorry, it's not right in front of me.
It was unanimous, 3-0, or was it 2-0? 3-0, is everybody there?
Yeah, it was 3-0. It was a 3-0 vote.
Okay. Mr. Romero, you still have your hand up. Do you have another question, or
I just wanted to say I think it's a good progress to help encourage the achievement, but discourage or kids that feel discouraged that are doing good at least will get a reward, and it still stands out within college simulations as well too. It helps out with the weighted grades. I like this.
President Johnson, do you have anything to add to the comments? Okay. I tend to, well, I agree with, I was in the TLE Pupil Services meeting when this was passed, and as more of a silent observer, but I think it's a good way to go, and I concur with everybody else. And thank you, Mrs. Mortek and team for getting this taken care of.
Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, could I get a motion to approve Policy 345.1, Rule 1, to move to the full board?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye, motion carried 3-0. Okay, the next item on the agenda, we're moving to 4, Human Resources. 4A, the addendum matrix for 25-26. I will open that up for discussion.
All right, it's moving a little slow.
Nobody else.
Just Mr. Romero, did you say something?
Sorry, I was just saying my machine was moving slow. Just give me 1 second for it to look properly.
We're having trouble hearing you. Could you maybe try to turn your volume up? Would that work? Okay. Board President Johnson.
Thank you, Dr. Garrison and cabinet members for getting these questions answered. I know it will take a lot of time and effort. Oh.
No, sorry.
Sorry. Thank you, Dr. Garrison and cabinet members for getting these questions answered. It looks like a lot of time went into these responses. Unfortunately, a lot of these responses spurred more questions for me. So if we could go, depending on if Chair Nichols would allow, just going through these one by one. For example, in the response to 1, we have a spreadsheet roster and a PDF roster, and the names don't align. And I understand some students are transient, and people may join up for a sport or activity and not see it through. But I was surprised at how much they did not align. Do we have software or something that keeps track of who participates in sports? I mean, how do we? One response was a PDF, like a Word document or something, and the other one was a spreadsheet. How does our athletic department keep track of who's in the sports?
So we get rosters at the beginning of the season. We enter those. We're actually going through this process as we speak. Those are sent to our medical team, to our team for entering into Skyward. They help us with tracking grades, tracking all of those things. I can only speak to the last year. I gave those rosters, the PDF version of those rosters to make sure we're giving the complete picture of who was in and who was out. And as I said, I can only speak to the last calendar year, and I know they don't match up perfectly in the last year, but I know there's far more discrepancies prior to that, prior to my arrival last year.
Thank you. I did notice in the spreadsheet, the only activity listed was the Nightingales. It wasn't like, I didn't see a distinction between the Nightingales dance versus Nightingales cheer. Was there something in that spreadsheet that I'm not understanding?
So yes, when I arrived here, we had codes provided to us from Skyward, and that's what we went with last year. We're in the process of adjusting those codes to try to distinguish between different seasons and different sports. For example, they're the only one that overlaps over multiple seasons. So we didn't have that issue with, say, football or basketball because they are only in the fall or the winter. So we have to clean some things up on that end, but that was what we were provided last year when I arrived.
So my aim is to understand how these are two distinct activities where we're paying for two distinct addendum pays, and I'm not convinced yet that we have that. And that's the purpose of these questions, was to establish that we have two distinct sports or activities or whatever they are. The second question, I had requested something showing that they actually do meet at different times and locations, and I don't see that. If anything, the calendar provided became more confusing because depending on the month, they have different times that they're meeting for the different months, and that was perplexing too. Do they meet is there a dance team meeting in one room or one gymnasium and a cheer group meeting in another gymnasium? Or if this is the same group, do they meet in the same gymnasium from 3 to 5 and then from 5 to 7?
The cheer and dance room is the same space. To answer that first question, they are, in my time here, they've been clearly two separate modalities. They have clearly a dance team and clearly a cheer team. I can't speak to the breakdown of their practices, just because I'm not in there on a day-to-day basis. That's why we provided the calendar. So I think at that point, that's all I can answer on that side.
Okay. For the third one, this one might be a Stephanie Elwood question. The numbers here do not match the numbers presented on the July 1st, 2025 addendum matrix presentation, or Mrs. Almondera's question. It might be, because I think she presented on that day. The July 1st addendum matrix presentation had the total Nightingales being $47,424.65 for the 24-25 school year. This one, it has $41,390, so a difference of $6,034.65. Can anyone explain the difference there?
Yes, I provided the actual value of the addendum. Mrs. Elwood provided the value plus the benefits.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And just so I'm understanding this correctly, number 4, comparing it to two other sports, basketball and football, over a 3-year period, we paid $120,859 for the dance and cheer programs, but during that same time, we paid for the football $96,630, and for that same time, the basketball coaches were a total of $73,290.
That is correct.
If these were two separate sports, I might be okay with that. I'm still not convinced we have two separate sports here. Thank you for the clarifying on the clarification on the uniforms, that it is $300 per athlete when they are new athletes, but then only $60 for the returning athletes, and thank you for providing the receipts. I'm still not quite certain about the activity fees. So my understanding, and my son graduated in 2022, so I know things change, but I don't know if this policy has changed that much. So he did basketball and golf one year. Another year he did basketball and football, and we had to pay for him to be in each of those. And if he did more sports beyond that, then we weren't charged anymore. So 2 activity fees were paid to the high school. It doesn't, if I'm reading this right, the athletes, these cheer and or dance athletes don't pay activity fee. Is that correct?
Are you asking about number 7?
Yeah, that's number 9. We're down to number 9 now.
Mr. Grass, did you hear that question? That it was in reference to athletic fees as it pertains to the payments that we have?
Yeah, I heard it. All rosters for athletics and activities are provided to our bookkeeper at the high school, and fees are then added to their the student accounts. So, yeah, that's they would also fall into that category, whether we recognize it as a sport or an activity.
So I think there may be some confusion. There's 2 different fees that we're talking about. You're talking about the board policy fee of $42 per person per sport with a limit. Mm-hmm. But then there's also the document that Dan shared in there of the $300 per new participant and $60 per current or repeating.
Right, and from what my understanding from what I saw, that $300 was to cover uniform costs.
Correct.
Correct.
So are you asking about the $42?
Yeah.
Okay.
So assuming they didn't need uniforms, the district would charge an activity/sports fee.
Per the policy, yes. And my guess is that there's probably a lot of those that are also waived, because in that policy, we also waive fees for anybody that is within those income limits.
Correct. Yep, correct. Do these students get charged a fee for dance if they're in dance, and a fee for cheer if they're in cheer, if their names are on both of those spreadsheet or rosters, if they are participating in both of these, and they are 2 distinct sports, they should be paying, and we should be collecting 2 distinct fees.
Dan, can you answer that?
I can't. We would have to data mine what each were charged, but my expectation would be that if one is listed as dance, go to the PDF rosters. If they fall on both of those, then they would be charged for both of them.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Nichols, for letting me ask those questions. I'm not convinced we have two separate sports here. When I looked up what Janesville had and what some other districts had, they do have a cheer team that meets in the fall and meets in the winter, and they have a cheer and an assistant coach for cheer coach and an assistant coach for that team. They also had a POM team that had a different set of students and met in the fall and the winter, and it had a different set of coaches. Unless we are doing some strange Doctor Who thing where people can be in the same time and the same place at once doing two separate different things, we don't have two distinct sports here. There's, I would be, my personal, and I know I'm not a regular voting member of this committee, but if this were to come to the full board, I could not support this the way it is. And considering our financial situation, I could not support this the way it is. My suggestion would be to have it be one sport, meet in the fall and meet in the winter. And if they would prefer to have it be one just distinct sport, let them decide whether it's cheer or dance. But we are really at a financial critical point where we are dealing with having to keep our janitors employed, our staff members here, and our class sizes down. I just cannot get behind this right now. Thank you, Mr. Nichols.
Mr. Chair Nichols, can I weigh in?
Go ahead, Board Member Hankins.
Piggybacking on when Board President brought up the different pay scales for coaching, and I'm always a percentage person, and how many students are involved in cheer and dance, and the price tag for the coaching for that, and put that into perspective to, I think, Board President brought up basketball, and what total cost per student is that percentage-wise. Cheer and dance is way ahead of, our basic. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but why are we paying so much more per student for cheer and dance than we are for the basic sports models?
Mr. Grass, did you hear Board Member Hankins' question?
I did. I mean, I'll say from a factual standpoint, we can't penalize the continuity of the cheer and dance staff. Our addendum matrix is set up to reward those that stay longer. So 0 to 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 5, 6, 7 plus. They're maxed out on their pay scale because of, them being here longer. So a lot of I don't know that comparison is overly fair, in my opinion, to do a comp because, our boys basketball has had more people cycling in and out in terms of coaches. So that would be one point there. In terms of, percentage per athlete served, I mean, same thing. It's one season looking at multiple seasons. I mean, strictly anecdotally, our cheer and dance teams are incredibly visible. They are at a ton of things. They were at just the first day of school for our teachers at 7 a.m. They were out there. They'll be at every single football game. I mean, there's a lot to be said about how often they're competing or performing, I should say, at competitions. So I don't know that answers the question, but I think I want to make sure that we're recognizing how often they're actually performing. and doing good things.
I'll take that answer as it is. You know, you can't compare a basketball game to a cheer and dance squad in my book. And, you know, it's just a matter of what Board President Johnson has brought up, that we're under severe financial constraints. And I'm not putting one in front of the other. But when we have to microscopically look at these activities and maybe some, to me, it's a support of the mass, and I understand the other part. Maybe there's a way that the community and parents can get behind cheer and dance and support them as a club team or however it is. But our basketball, football, the other sports are competitive sports. This is a sideline. It's an activity, and it's very helpful and healthy. But we can't afford, as a district, to provide the funds for these when they far outweigh the cost per student of being a basketball and or football player.
Thank you, Board Member Hankins. Mr. Grants, I have a question. In the questions, number 12, wait a minute, number 11, which board policy allows the coaches to charge $360 for the students to participate? The answer is none. Does this practice comply with the Wisconsin state statutes? Not available. So we don't know what we don't know what the statutes say, or could you clarify that for me, please?
Yeah, absolutely. First piece is it's not a participation fee; it's a uniform fee. We don't have the funds in any capacity to be able to provide through the athletic office for uniforms. So that's the first piece. They're not unique. A good portion of our teams are providing uniforms through fundraising or through charging athletes. We don't want to do that. I mean, absolutely don't want to. But the budget we have, has zero chance of being able to provide functional uniforms. The second piece is the NA just simply means there is no applicable statute that allows us to charge, or I guess dictates what we can charge if it were an activity fee. We determine that at the district level. We see a wide range of athletic participation fees throughout the state, and even honestly throughout the Big Eight and the SLC. The Big Eight being our previous conference. So the schools dictate that at a local level.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gratz. Board President Johnson, did you have more?
I just wanted to point out in Mr. Gratz's response to Mr. Hankins, the visibility of the participants, that yes, they are visible at the different sports and the pep rallies or whatever it is, and our athletes are also visible at non-sporting events. They participate in other things as well, representing their teams. These teams don't compete, so part of what they need to do is to be visible, because that's the nature of what they're doing. They're cheering and supporting and performing if they're on the dance team, or not team, but the dance club or whatever it is.
Board Member Romero.
Mr. Gratz, question for you: does our band participate in competitions, marching competitions, concert competitions, anything like that?
They participate in jazz competitions, yes.
Okay, jazz competitions. Okay. The question for you also, well, something that runs through my head. Granted, we are here looking at this financial situation where we have to be, fiscally responsible for everything. We don't have we don't have the caviar budget anymore that we used to. Obviously, we're on a Kool-Aid budget now, so we have to really tighten up the strings everywhere, anywhere we can. With this being said, as far as that goes, have we ever paid a band director for a marching season and a concert season separate?
Um, I wouldn't be a good barometer for that, as I've only been here a year. I can tell
Okay.
you that we did not this past year.
Oh,
We paid one addendum for that.
okay. All right, and that's fine. That sounds pretty much par for the course for any of the school districts that I've looked at as well. Because they do overlap, because some students do participate in marching band that don't participate in concert, and some do participate in concert season that don't participate in marching band for one reason or the other. Same scenario. However, they're only being paid one stipend to do that particular part of the work because they do overlap. They overlap different seasons as well. It doesn't make sense for me, for them in this case, to have two seasons for cheer and dance, being as how they do overlap on things. And yes, there are some kids that don't do dance that do cheer, or athletes that do dance and do cheer, and some that don't. They do both. A lot of them will do both, and but some do one and some do the other. Um, I don't see it in my point of view that it makes sense equitably to not do this and not pay, or to do this and not pay, say, the band director for different seasons as well, because they do have to still perform in different seasons. They perform in the football seasons, they perform in the basketball seasons as well. Maybe not for the teams themselves, except for marching season, but they still have to. They are still considered a different season. And then jazz band is a whole different animal altogether. So technically, on the equitable side of things, it doesn't make sense to me to have the two different seasons as far as that goes. I would prefer to see it and put into one season for the head coach and one season for the assistant coach. As far as the two different teams, it's they overlap a lot, so it's really hard to even justify that. To me, it would be make the same sense to do one stipend for both.
Dr. Garrison?
Thank you. The great discussions and a great opportunity for us to kind of, hear from the board and, of course, from the committee. One of the things I wanted just to discuss in general is just to see, kind of what direction the committee is thinking. Is the committee recommending to us to look at this from a one, as I'm hearing it, one combined team, 2 seasons? I just want to make sure that's what I'm hearing correctly, because I don't want to. Yes, sir.
Yes, I would concur with that.
Okay.
I would also.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hankins. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agreed with what you said, Dr. Garrison, and then Brian chimed in. I agree with what you said.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the same. It makes more sense to have one combined team. It's a cheer dance team, and into 2 seasons, that would make more sense to me.
Okay, so if that's the recommendation from the committee, is that something that we want to bring back to the addendum matrix at a different time, or? I'm just trying to. I want to hear from. So I want to make sure I'm getting this right. If we're gonna, since we're at this conversation at this time.
Board President Johnson?
My recommendation would be to not kick the can down the road. I understand we don't want to hold this up because we do want to make certain the other coaches or employees receiving addendum pay, that they get approved for this year's addendum matrix. Another question I have on the addendum matrix is we did change the AP position to a dean position specifically to look at behavioral issues, and we have 2,400 at each elementary going for two SEB coaches, the social, emotional, behavioral coaches. I guess I'm wondering, do we need 1,200 per coach, two coaches at each elementary, if they also have a dean specifically there to work with staff in terms of behavioral and disciplinary issues?
So I am not certain which document you're looking at, but after the last discussion, the SEB coaches at each of our elementary schools were reduced with a note stating Dean of Students at the elementary level will replace the need for the SEB coach addendums. And on the second tab, it was calculated with the reductions. On the second tab, it showed SEB coach 2 per building times 6 schools, a total savings of $14,400.
Mrs. Almendarez, you just lost me there. What second tab?
Oh, because you didn't put the, okay. Okay, so the addendum matrix that is being proposed was a shared document, and I had, yeah, okay, so two different things. I can share with you right now. I apologize. No problem. Let me get to the right place.
I see it crossed out here. No, I just want to make sure we all look at the same thing as well.
I reshared my spreadsheet. And in that workbook, there's a sheet too that shows the reductions on the document that I just shared. It was, I shared the same one from when we posted yesterday. Yes. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Romero.
Okay, sorry, you were on mute. I saw your mouth moving, but no sound. Okay, I want to ask you, Chairperson Nichols, Vice Chair Hankins, would it make sense also too, because again, we're trying to be fiscally responsible with everything too, but still be fair in the sense that we can't just shaft people and whatnot, because that's not what we're after. But we do have to face a reality where we're at, the situation here, unfortunately, with how things have gone. It's kind of looking like, I'm thinking maybe, what's your opinion on having a single coaching position, like head coach and head coach and then an assistant coach, but with one fair annual stipend, so it does the whole year. It's like for the year, but just one stipend together instead of doing separate sports. Like for example, that's kind of like the situation for the band thing, the band instructor or not. So they are they kind of they practice year round also as well. They come in the summertime. They got band camp as well that they do is also during the summer. Um, especially when March season comes around, they do all that as well. So they're always kind of doing the similar thing, and with cheer and dance as well. They're constantly doing things off, throughout the year as well, like a year round sort of training too as well. So it would make sense to me. It kind of makes sense to me to do like a yearly stipend for that, a fair one, in order to make it happen like that instead of separating it by season, because in our situation here, we do have the head coach and the assistant coach, the same person dealing with the all the athletes there on the both the squads. So kind of would make more sense to do it that way. I don't know. What is your guys' opinion on that? What do you think?
Chairman Nichols, I would just like you to herd your cats in, because we went from one subject to another, now back to the other one, and on the addendum matrix that we're talking about. So if you, committee chair, keep us focused on whatever matrix item we're looking at, because I think we slipped into another one, and then I got confused. So Mr. Romero brought us back to the first one. So unless I'm reading this wrong, I would like to address one and then the other one that we were trying to resolve. And I understand it's one big matrix. So I'm just asking, and we're not in person, Juan and I, unfortunately, but I understand what Juan is saying, but I'd just like to move from one to the other, please.
I'm sorry if we moved and I didn't catch the move. I'm sorry about that.
There was no movement. I just thought we were talking about one, and then we shifted to another one. The board president Johnson brought into the matrix on deanships, and then we shifted back with your comments back to the dance cheer. So I'm just trying to stay focused and do one. I don't know if it's a motion, and with that, Dr. Garrison's comments also included. He wants to hear us properly, but if we keep moving around, I can't even follow that, which isn't hard to do. But
thank you, Board Member Hank, as well. You were correct in that all this discussion is about the addendum matrix. It's a vast document. I think that's the challenging part. I don't remember how many pages are, but there's 20, 22 pages or something like that. So it's a very large document, all told. So it's kind of hard to focus on one small area when it's such a vast document. Dr. Garrison, I'm not sure, were you finished with your comments, or I'm not sure that you were finished before I go any further.
I was. I just wanted to hear, some of the thoughts from where we were at that specific time. I believe I've heard from the committee as it pertains to what could be a possible space, although there's still questions. And if there's still questions, then it kind of, I just want to make sure we are, moving together as it pertains to what do you want our next possible steps to be. I believe that, in this space, there's been a lot of questions, and, we've done our best to answer those questions. Naturally, there's going to be more questions after these questions, as Board President Johnson mentioned, which is rightfully so, because one question always sparks another in education. So we appreciate the feedback, but we also know that we have the rest of the addendum matrix to kind of consider as well. And so I wanted to make sure that was the last thought I had. So that was my thoughts for now. Thank you.
I would suggest someone make a motion to the effect of approval of the addendum matrix, the one when you hit refresh, the new one. sorry. I keep my tabs open way too long. But to approve the addendum matrix with the consolidation of dance and cheer to meet as one sport during the fall season and one sport during the winter season.
So moved.
Well, actually, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Go ahead, Dr. Garrison.
Sure. Board President Johnson is a quasi-member of all committees.
Correct.
So,
Right.
I know.
Yeah.
I take mine back. I take that move back.
Yeah, she can. Okay. Is there a second?
Well, is there a motion? Is there still a motion?
You so moved, and is there a second? I'll second. Any further discussion? Mr. Romero, your hand is up.
So now that's why I was bringing up the idea of what we thought about the other one. If you guys are not in favor of it, I was throwing it out there. I just want to make sure you guys understood it or heard, to make sure that we can think about this through, because again, I don't want to send anything to full board without really ironing out all our possibilities. And if we're not going one way, just to have a good rationale of why we wouldn't be going one way or the other way, or especially be able to speak to why we're going this certain route. If that makes sense.
I believe so.
I also have another question.
Board Member Romero, could you clarify that statement again? I think we passed it so long ago that we need a refresher.
Okay, so what I was thinking, because we'd already talked about having one stipend or was it for the 2 seasons? What I was talking about is having a year-round stipend, and there's no seasons. It's just the year-round thing, just the same format as what the band instructor would do, because they train. Band trains year-round also. The same thing as the dance and cheer. They train year-round also. They're always doing things. They're off. Out of in the summer break and spring breaks. Every so often they're doing things too. So it's not saying that the intensity is the same, but it's the same kind of regimen. They're still doing things off schedule or off season year round. So to do something to make a single coaching position that spans both of the seasons with a fair annual stipend, so not to say basically, this is going to be it, and you're getting paid the same as you would get paid for one season only for the whole year. It would actually be more than just the one season, but it wouldn't be as much as the 2 seasons together or 3 or whatever it is, because at the end of the day, you're still, even by reducing with how Board President Johnson was saying, you're still trying to reduce for financial, fiscal responsibility. Because again, that's another way that we do protect our kids, is by being fiscally responsible with everything for the district. So, in that being said, that's why I was throwing the idea of just a single coaching position. So, the head coach and the assistant coach, they would have those positions just for the whole year. So it wouldn't be a head coach for winter, head coach for fall, head coach or assistant for winter, assistant for fall. It would just be, you're the head coach for the dance cheer, and you're the assistant coach for the dance cheer, and it goes year round. And the stipend would be just a year round stipend. I mean, it's just a thought. What do you think?
Well, Board Member Romero, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but the stipends are annual, correct?
Not the way.
Sorry. Oh, that's the total. That's the annual total. So.
Okay.
So this is the total of all of the 3 seasons they did for each of those years.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Thank you.
So that's why, so football is one season, basketball is one season, correct?
Yes, and there's a boys and a girls component to it as well.
Correct, okay.
Well, I think Juan Romero's question is very valid. I think Dan Gratz is still on the line, if that makes sense to him, because it does to me. But if Dan can weigh in on that.
Yeah, I think it's a possibility for sure. I mean, I do, not sidestepping the question, but do we need to consider removing this from the addendum matrix to approve what we are not having discussions on and have continued discussion on this? Because even in committee, we can't quite come to a consensus. I think there's a lot of possibilities, that could be discussed, but I want to make sure, when it does go to board, the cheer and dance piece isn't holding up the 30-page addendum matrix document. So I guess I would pose that question before I answer the other for Mr. Romero.
Mr. Gratz, can you repeat what your question is?
Yeah, my question is, should we remove cheer and dance from this addendum matrix to have continued discussion about cheer and dance, and basically have two different topics as it moves forward? We can approve what's not being discussed in the addendum matrix, the other 29 pages, and have continued discussion, because I don't want this to continue. Cheer and dance right now is seemingly, and I could be wrong, but seemingly the sticking point of holding up the entire addendum matrix for the rest of the sports and activities and all those things. With school starting shortly, we want to make sure we move on that. To answer, so I'll stop there and then I'll come back to Mr. Romero's question.
Okay, thank you. So if we remove dance and cheer, then dance and cheer does not receive a stipend until it gets board approved.
Yes.
But sorry, yes, that would be what would end up having to happen. I would only suggest that, like I said, there's two moving parts, as Mr. Gratz just mentioned. If we, move forward with the rest of the addendum matrix as it stands, and then we put something different in place for cheer and dance, with Mr. Romero's thoughts, and I think, thank you, Mr. Gratz, for sharing what you shared. But with Mr. Romero's thoughts, I run back to what would we be thinking will the compensation be, and that's a whole different conversation, because we're looking at a full year space versus the seasonal space. And so I just want to make sure that, to me, those are two separate thoughts. One was the one season cheer and dance, fall, spring, fall, winter, my apologies. And now we're saying the possibilities of one full year, one stipend for both. And so I just trying to figure out, what direction the committee is thinking. I think there was a motion on the table, but I also don't want to overstep any of that thought as well.
There are, if I'm not mistaken, clubs and activities on here that meet year-round. So, for example, the newspaper, the Increscent, has a year-round, school year, obviously. I imagine the art club, the art show, DECA, all of those, French club, MEO, Latino club, yearbook. To me, it sounds like what Mr. Romero is suggesting is that the dance cheer would go down under student clubs BMHS as a year-round club. Is that correct?
Yes.
Going back to, I think, what Juan was, or what Dr. Garrison was saying, is that we just don't add the spring and fall together and that equals what the stipend will be. So it just needs more deliberations. That's what I'm hearing.
Board Chair, may I?
Mrs. Almendarez.
Thank you. If we were previously, Mr. Romero was comparing this to the jazz band or the band. That is under activities with a range of $27.61 all the way up to 4141. So 2,761 to 4,141 based on years of experience, if that's what we were comparing that to. If we're looking at the clubs, then those would be, let me go to my clubs here, those would be a fixed 1,148 to 2,068. It would be under Student Clubs BMHS.
Board Member Romero, is your hand still up?
Yeah, I just had another question after we get through the, basically what, to Mr. Grass's question is we're pulling off, we would pull things off, and cheer dance would be one of them. I was going to ask about some other things down the line. So when we get to that point, and in regards to Mrs. Almendarez's comment, could you give me those figures again so I can write them down here and look at those, please? The club versus the activities. Did you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I did hear you. I'm sorry. Oh my, what a tangled weave we web. Or web we weave. Actually, maybe we did weave it instead of web it. Well, back to one of the original comments, I certainly don't want to hold the entire addendum procedure up because we got school starting in a couple days, and but I did like the original motion that Board President Johnson gave to, and could, Michelle, do you have that? Did you have that written down, what the original motion was?
What I have is move to recommend approval of the proposed 2025-2026 addendum matrix with combining cheer and dance as one team for the fall and cheer and dance as one team for the winter. Okay.
And Board Member Hankins, you moved to approve that, right?
Yes.
Board Member,
but
okay,
just
and I second.
And we were in discussion.
Correct. We were in discussion.
Go back. I just want to go back a step. that there was and this is how part of your procedure, as the board president does, can't she make a motion in a committee meeting?
Yes.
Okay. As long as that is all reconciled.
Yeah, I believe that's up to the board chair. I think it was according to policy, but yeah, I believe so. But I do.
I do have one more question. Board President Johnson, you brought in another phase of this matrix, and it was about deans, and I think it was the wordship of it. Now it's been so long, I can't remember. But I remember you asking questions after we left cheer and dance. You went into another topic.
Yes, Mr. Hankins, I did, and when I refreshed my browser, the new document came up and my question was answered.
Very good.
I still have more questions when you were ready, Chair Nichols.
Go ahead, Board Member Romero.
Okay, also for the addendum, the rest of the addendum, all the other things that were cut, were those recommendations at the building level? So basically, those come from the building administration saying, hey, this is what our building could do without, or this is what we would like to not have here because it's either not they're not being attended, or we don't need them because no one's coming, or are these decisions being made at the building level, or is it above?
No, so the changes that are reflected in this proposed matrix, what is crossed out is what was approved, but as of last school year, 24-25, going into that school year, the administrators at each building identified what activities they felt either did not have enough participants, or they didn't have enough staff interested in hosting the activities, and as a result, the consensus was that this is what they were going to reduce. The SEB coach reduction was not done at the building level. It was done as a result of the dean positions.
Okay.
Okay, so then basically the majority of them are, except for the SEB, was done at the building level. I just want to make sure that our buildings had the say-so on what's best for their buildings.
Absolutely.
Any further discussion? Board President Johnson.
So if we were to consider the dance and cheer as an activity, and Mr. Romero compared it to the band, and Mr. Behrens gets a stipend for right, but isn't it doesn't he have like two stipends a year, one for one event and one for the other one? What's the?
One's like band.
One is fall play, the other one is musical.
Thank you. If we were to put dance and cheer into activities at the stipend of $41.41 times 2 coaches times 2 semesters, that would come out to $16,564. If we left dance and cheer as one sport times 2 seasons with a coach and an assistant coach, that comes out to $1,655 or $16,556. And I'm looking at Mrs. Elwood thinking, is she doing the same math or not? I mean, so it's an $8 difference.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I calculated for. I mean, actually, one of the coaches would actually even get a bump up because it would be, instead of the $33.11, it would be the $41.41.
many students are we talking about?
I'm sorry, Mr. Hankins, I'm sorry.
Member Hankins, say it again.
How many students are involved in dance and cheer under these two coaches that are in fall and spring? How many total students are we talking about?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Mr. Grass, do you have the answer to that?
Yeah, from the standpoint of safety, we have to have two based on the numbers that they're presenting. We're sitting anywhere from 18 to 24 with JV and varsity.
But there is overlap between dance and cheer. I'm wrong.
I do believe there is overlap.
And where did clap go? The nice girls that came to demonstration for clap, is that part of dance or cheer, or is that separate?
That's step.
Step, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Step would fall in the dance category.
Thank
I think the questions was answered in the discussion that Mrs. Johnson brought. I think the numbers would be different if we were still in the same sport 2 times instead of making them once. So it'll have been higher the other way based off of the way we presented it. The way it's being discussed now, it still is a reduction. The numbers one could argue about $500 difference or so. If we was to keep it in the in the club space, or if we were to keep it the other way. So I guess we want to know kind of where your thoughts are at this point. I'm sorry, $8 difference. My apologies. $8. I was rounding way up. $8 difference. I said 800. $8.
Mrs. Johnson, would you be able to retell those numbers again? I was breaking up when you were talking there. Sorry.
Sure thing, Mr. Romero. So if we had dance and cheer as one sport with 2 seasons and at $4,967 for the lead coach and $3,311 for the assistant coach times 2 seasons, I sum that to be $16,556.
Why 2 seasons?
One for the fall season and one for the winter season, basically for football and basketball. If we had it as a year-round activity and compared it to the band, which the band has 2 different activities in the year, and said, okay, we could have the 2 coaches at that same rate as the band, the 7+ years of $4,141 times 2 coaches comes to $8,282. If we did that each semester, then that total would be $16,564. And the difference would be $8 from if we did it as a sport.
You mean as a club?
Right, whether it's a club or a sport, we could do a you know, and the reason why I was looking at it as 2 semesters is because they do have the more fall season versus the more winter season, and I know they also used to have a spring season as well. So the benefit of doing it as a year-round activity would be that whatever they were doing in the spring would be covered. So I see benefits to doing it both ways, actually. I do.
What, Mr. Nichols? Dr. Garrison? Would the board be amenable to leaving it as a sport with the $8 difference, and then we could look at approving the rest of the addendum, or are we? I just want to make sure I'm.
Two season sports, we're saving $8.
Correct. So.
One sport.
One.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what the motion is right now.
That's the motion on the floor.
That's the motion that's right now, to leave it as in the sports space.
Did you guys get that? That's the motion on the floor, is the year-round.
No.
I mean, the season.
2 seasons.
2 seasons, yep.
2 seasons.
2 seasons, 1 sport. 2 seasons, 1 sport.
2 seasons, 1 sport. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Could I have the motion one more time, please?
Move to recommend approval of the proposed 2025-2026 addendum matrix with combining cheer and dance as one team for fall and cheer and dance as one team for winter.
That motion has been made, seconded, discussed, and discussed, and discussed, and discussed, and so, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those, any nays?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-1. Yes.
Just for clarification, Board Chair, the rest of the addendum matrix was approved?
Correct.
Okay, that's just that. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the HR committee report. Is there any reason to go into closed session? Okay, hearing none, we are going to 4C, HR committee report, Exhibit A. Any discussion? And did you guys see the modified Exhibit A that was just sent out?
That's also I was trying to pull up here right now. Give me 1 second.
I'm sorry, Board Member Romero.
I saw it, Brian.
Okay. Board Member Romero, could you repeat that? You were kind of breaking up.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, it was pulling up as you were talking, so just 1 second here.
Okay.
While we're waiting for him, The only, comment I have is, I don't think the, 1, 2, 3, the fourth person down, I don't think their effective date is the year 202.
Yeah, so that's what I was looking at as well. It was like 0202.
We're going way back in that Doctor Who TARDIS.
I'd like to move to approve with the correction of the date for the Dean of Students. No, sorry, not for the academic interventionist at Todd. Just to correct that date.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried 3-0. Okay, the next meeting date will be Wednesday, September the 3rd, 2025 at 4 p.m. at Colac. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
Hold on, we have to have discussion.
Didn't I say that?
No.
Second.
No, you did second.
Okay. Discussion.
Just a thought here. I'm thinking about sending a motion to reconsider our vote on the matrix addendum. I'm not convinced. I want to know why there wasn't a 3-0 vote, and only in their interest of bringing a complete product to the board, because that's kind of how I feel these committees should be, to be able to have everything in agreement. If it's something to where we should bring it back and vote to bring the cheer thing issue back at later, but approve the rest, that's one thing. But to have something complete together, does that make sense? So I think that's been hurting us at the board level when we have something that's not totally complete coming out of any committee.
Well, remember, Romero, that's what we do is we move it to the board. If we approve it, we move to the board. If we don't approve it, we don't move it to the board. We approved it 3-0. No?
No, it was 2-1.
Okay, 2-1. Right, but that's the democratic process. That's the democratic and the Robert's Rules of Order process.
I understand, and also in the Robert's Rules of Order process, a member of the winning side does have the option to motion to reconsider. In the event of all fairness, I want to make sure that we're all clear as to what's going on with everything. Only because I do feel like we had a pretty good discussion about it, but there was still not something to be convinced. And if it's something that is a holdup that's not making sense, let's iron it out here. That's what our committees are for.
Okay. So you made a motion to reconsider. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Well, right now, the motion is to adjourn, so we're rescinding the motion to adjourn?
No.
Because the motion is to adjourn.
Right.
First, we need to...
Yeah, so we'd have to motion, we have to vote down the... So first we'd have to vote down the adjournment.
We motioned and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor of adjourning? All those in favor of adjourning say aye. Aye. Any nays?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. We're not adjourned. Motion failed. Okay, Board Member Romero, we finished with a complete product. Dance and cheer are still on the addendum matrix. Be it different, they are still on there. Everything is complete that we are sending to the full board for approval.
I would like to find out why there was a vote against, and not to put you on the spot, Board Member Hankins, but I just want to basically make sure that everything's covered. You know, I want to make sure that everything's clear or where you're coming from, because if we don't hear each other out here, then there's still kind of doubts later on down the line. Yes, it was a vote, and yes, it could have passed easily, but it's still not 100% clear. I mean, at the committees, I kind of feel like there should be more of a all unison kind of feel where we should all have the same agreement, and we can come to that agreement with discussion, and not necessarily, one or the other. If we can all come to an agreement from the discussion, that'd be great. But I just kind of want to find out, what the hang up was, and it could be something that was misunderstood, or it could just be something that is not clear, whatever the case is, and it might be something that I might not have thought of as well. So I'm kind of curious as to what the thought process was, if that's okay.
That's great. And
But let me interrupt. Board Member Romero, if you want to ask another board member about their vote, you can do that after the session, but not during the session.
Okay. However, let me rephrase this then. Was there still some doubt in your opinion, Mr. Hankins, as far as, I just want to make sure that I didn't miss something either, because I don't want to have to have this come back to committee again.
Again, let me interject here just a second. Again, it has been voted on. Just because it wasn't 3-0 or 4-0 or 5-0 doesn't mean it wasn't approved. It was approved as per the original, the motion that was made and seconded, and lots of discussion, and we all voted on it. And two of us voted aye, and one of us voted nay, and it's going to the full board.
Where there'll be more discussion. So.
And more time spent. That's what I'm trying to avoid. That's why we have these committees to handle it here. If we're not handling stuff here and ironclad, then what are we doing?
Board Member Romero, I appreciate what you're saying, but there are no guarantees. We could vote on it 10-0 if there were that many people in the room, and there could still be discussion at the full board level.
And you are absolutely correct, because you can't control those unknown variables. However, you could do your due diligence and do your best to make sure that's as ironclad as possible. That's all I'm saying as far as that goes.
Okay. Well, I think we discussed that for about an hour. There were a lot of good inputs, a lot of good questions, a lot of good discussion, a lot of good feedback from Mr. Kratz, from everybody at this table, and those of you virtually. So, I don't know what, I'm not really sure. It's just the process that we're going through, and again, we, just like votes at the full board level, the majority of the time they aren't 7-0.
Point of order.
Yes.
This is not on the agenda.
Right. Yeah.
So I would suggest you ask for another motion to adjourn, and that Ms. Romero and Mr. Hankins have an offline conversation. This will be on the agenda for Tuesday for the full board. It will be discussed there. If somebody wants to make changes at that meeting, they have that opportunity. That's why we have committee meetings and then full board meetings.
That's fine. I will not be contacting Mr. Hankins offline regarding this. Therefore, that's fine.
Okay. So could I get an motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any nays?
Nay.
Motion carried 3-1. We adjourned at 5:26. Thank you, guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you.